Hello everybody and welcome to the Daryl Talks podcast. Today we've moved over to Plymouth. We have got Plymouth legend. I used to work with this gentleman, and if somebody walked in the showroom and didn't know him, they weren't really anybody. So without further ado, welcome John Brown.
Good evening, Daryl, and thank you for that marvellous introduction.
Yeah, got to big you up so that they can make their decisions afterwards.
Well, this is true, I'm sure that's the case. Well, it's very nice to be seeing you again after quite a while since I worked with you.
Yeah, we
had an enjoyable time.
We had a little brief stint together, didn't we?
Yeah,
one year?
We did, that's right. It was most enjoyable. And trying to sell cars together, which was always fun, but that wasn't for you, really.
No.
But at least we got to meet each other, which was always good. But there you go, yeah.
Yeah, the selling the cars was fun. It was everything else, which is always the case with everything these days, isn't it?
That's true.
But the reason I've got you on is because during that year, you spoke so much about, or just generally, so much, we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
You would just tell some great stories about owning your own business, about your family, because you come from London originally.
Yeah.
When did you move down here?
I was 16, so 1976. That was a long, long time ago. I'm very old, which enables me to collate a lot of stories to be able to bore people with. So, that's really why I would always come out with a little anecdote. I've had a very good life so far and enjoyed myself and met lots of interesting people, including yourself on the way, and it's nice to then share that with other people.
And there is not many people your age that I used to be buzzing when you brought in a carrier bag of your hand-me-downs. So to put into
I've forgotten about that.
To put into context, for anybody who doesn't know John Brown, he used to own his own fashion shop, would you call it? Is it
call
not
it that.
fashion retailer?
Yeah, absolutely.
John Brown Gentwear, and before that, were you a manager?
Yeah, I was a partner in another business, a well-established business in Plymouth, which some people may know, which was called Cody, which again started probably around about 1976, and I became a partner in that business. My partner obviously started the business. I joined him. I used to work for another shop called John Saberton, and I was asked to come across, and it was that was my life really for sort of 40 years of my working life in the city centre. And then that, obviously because of that, you get to know a lot of people, and hence, like you said, later on when they're coming into the showroom or wherever, a lot of them would know me purely because Plymouth, although it's a fairly large place, it's not that big.
No, absolutely. And even to people that I like, people that are rugby, that I'll say, I'm like they always ask who I'm interviewing next. And I said, John Brown. You used to have John Brown. I remember that shop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So at the very least, they remember the shop.
Yeah.
Because it was. Am I right? It was probably the only shop around that sold that sort of clothing. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, things have changed, and hence I'm not in it anymore. But with the best of times for me. But going back to the Cody days when I was a partner in the business, I joined in and I became a partner. But literally, we're going back to sort of mid-80s, early 90s, where really the big established brands that we all know of now is your massive ones like your Armani's and Dolce & Gabbana's, Paul Smith, those sort of things. They were literally just crystallising, just starting. I think Armani jeans was starting around about 83. And we were looking to get on board with this. I mean, really, it was very much an international thing or a London thing. People had never thought to have done that in Plymouth. But we saw the avenue, we saw the chance that we'd do something, and we took our chances. My partner was probably about 10 or 11 years older than me. He'd been in the trade, obviously, that much longer again, and he had some very, very good contacts, so we could get these brands. And at first, a lot of it was, we struggled. We couldn't sell it because people didn't really know a lot about them. But we gradually built it up, and back then they would deal with you exclusively. So if you had a brand in the shop and you did the business with it, they were quite happy not to let anybody else have it. You had it on your own. Not quite the same now, obviously. We'll move on to with with the online situation. That's what changed the high street, you know.
Yeah, because I was going to say that, like, that is, well, look at the high streets now.
Yeah, it was a moment in time, in all honesty, and you know, progress and things happen and things change. But I think I always talk to people, basically, possibly from your age back to my age, and say we had the best of times.
Yeah.
Because we could go in on a Friday and Saturday, come in and have a chat with me. We'd sort them some clobber out to wear on a Saturday night. I had to make sure they didn't buy the same thing as their mate because they go mad. And then they get in a fight on Friday night. They'd have to come back in on the Saturday and buy a new shirt. And it was all very much a personal thing. Obviously, you got to know them. You saw them out socially as well. And it was a sort of a rites of passage. And for these people growing up, it was a part of their life. And I know it sounds a little bit over the top, but, you know, people have told me that was the case. And it was important back then. It was a bit more personal. And unfortunately now, with the advent of a lot of online, which has killed a lot of the high street businesses, that's just the way it is. But you haven't got that personal touch, you know.
I still think there is a place for it. It's just got to be the right place now, isn't it? It's very, that potluck has got a lot smaller.
Yes.
And a lot more niche.
Yes, it's difficult to make a living out of it. I got out, I think, at possibly what I consider the right time. Just before COVID, I was lucky, and I packed the shop in as I had to sign up for a 10-year lease, and I thought, can I see myself doing this for another 10 years? Because I could see how the way the online situation was affecting your turnover and taking, as it done with a lot of business. I mean, massive stuff's gone out of the high street, you know.
Yeah.
As we all know, your Debenhams, your Walls, you know, like 100, 200-year-old companies. So it wasn't just us. We could see it coming, and we thought, well, time to make a move. But yeah, I mean, having said that, looking back, we had the best of times, and it was phenomenal. And you know, people they could come to you, and they knew they could get something that they're not going to get everywhere else. Whereas now, all they have to do is obviously go on their laptop and Bob's your uncle. There it is.
Yeah. Now it's a case of trying to find the cheapest place the place that sells the same thing cheapest.
It's price driven now, whereas before there was no comparison. They couldn't do that because you know, it was what it was. We'd have 2 or 3 of each particular thing. People would love it. They'd have to have it. I'd say, well, if you don't get it, it's going to be gone. I can't get any more. Yeah. You know, and they knew that there would be only 2 or 3 of those in the whole of Plymouth, and that was an attraction in itself.
Like a posh TK Maxx.
Well, sort of, yeah. That didn't exist back then, really.
That's probably the most offensive I could have ever said.
Yeah, well, I'll forgive you that because you don't know what you're talking about. Wasn't it? It was a time, you know, it was a moment in time, shall I say, because it's different now. You know, we've got to move on. Things do move on. My daughter, she's 25 now, she buys in a completely different way, and I have to understand that. So they don't know what they're missing because they didn't experience it. And you can go back before that, you know, when you used to go into a shop, perhaps, you know, your grandparents' era or my parents' era, and the service would be unbelievable, and the people would be dressed to the nines. Well, of course, those things have become toned down and more casual. Not necessarily for the better of myself, but we would try and do that in a modern way, and sort of serve people, and you know, just associate with people and make them feel wanted and included in the business, so they felt a part of the business. And we've got such good return trade because of that. And I go out now in the town still, even at my tender years now, and my daughter comes with this, she said, for goodness sake, Dad, we've taken about 2 hours to walk 20 yards. Do you know what? That's value for me. I love that. That I can still, you know, stop and talk to people in the town, and I value that. I think that's a nice thing to have.
Absolutely. And you've managed to take that into new jobs, you know, with just by walking traffic. It's helped at times, hasn't it?
Absolutely it does, and I think it helps the businesses. I mean, you've got to have something to bring to it, and I think you earn it. I mean, because I'm twice the age of most of the people I'm working with, which is no big deal. It doesn't matter. They know a lot of things I don't know, but I know a lot they don't know, and you all bring things to the party between you. But you earn that. I've earned that sort of backlog of people that I know, and they'll come in. And if you've gained their trust over the years, if you've done right by them, they will come to you. They will ask for you as much as they will ask for other people that are in the. As you well know, I work for Ocean Mini now, selling cars. And again, it's still a product. It's a nice product. It's a quality product. and you're still dealing with the general public. So it's pretty much the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's the same model, isn't it? Effectively.
Totally. Yeah.
And, you know, minis are classed as a premium.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, and you're dealing with some nice people, and you're still selling the product. As long as you can get behind it, you've got faith in it, as I did when I sold the clothes. People will trust you. If you've earned that from the past and they've dealt with you in the past and they were happy with their dealings with you, it does go a long way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because I always think, had I not worked for Mini, I probably wouldn't have got the job that I'm in today, purely because I was terrible at interviews. Right. And I got so used to presenting. You have to present every time a customer comes in.
Yeah.
I got so used to that talking in an interview was a doddle compared to talking to some of those customers. You know?
Interesting. Yeah, because sometimes it doesn't come naturally to you, then obviously that helps you.
Yeah, it's really odd because I've always been outgoing. But as soon as I got into a pressurized situation, I'd crumble and end up saying something ridiculous. But because you got used to being put under pressure.
Yeah, you were forced
and
into
thinking
almost,
on your feet and sort of still going smiles and like trying to turn everything around so it was a positive.
You can cope with it, yeah.
It literally was a doddle, and I actually enjoy interviews now.
That's good.
So
I mean, in all honesty, you know, someone like yourself, you were almost forced into that, and it wasn't you didn't feel natural about that.
Yeah.
To me, it's always been something I'm used to. Your skills, with all due respect, probably lie a lot elsewhere. And that's all I can do, really, is that I deal with people and I'm talking, and I enjoy it. Yeah. And I still love it, and I still going out and talking to people. I started off when I was a kid. I was like 12. You know, you have your little Saturday jobs.
Yeah.
When I lived in London, and just doing the local fruit and veg shops and all that sort of thing, and dealing with a lot of older people. But even at that age, I felt that was my grounding, to have the confidence of, say, 12, 13, to be able to talk to an adult on a trying to be on a level, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That gave me such good grounding. So I always was quite happy, you know, chatting and talking to people and listening to their stories, what they had to say, all about their lives. You know, it's fascinating. You're never too old to learn, and it's interesting. And I'm very lucky. I've met a lot of really good people over the years. Some become friends, others are acquaintances, but I've got a lot of people that I know that. Generally speaking, I get on all right with.
Yeah,
I've had too many people come up and spit on me in the street, but there's always a time.
They just do it behind your back.
Well, I wonder what that was on my jacket.
No, it makes sense though, because like building connections and stuff like that, that's always come easy to me. But with you, it's that sort of showman. I don't want to build you up too much here. You just have a presence about you, no matter where you are, that just attracts.
It's for other people to say that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just genuinely enjoy interacting with people. And going back to what you said earlier about when you came into doing the mini thing and it sort of forced you in, I found, again, loads of lads that come and worked for me when they were kids, they might have been there a year or two, but doing that sort of job, it was invaluable to them to go on and do what they did later on, like you just said.
Definitely.
There's nothing quite like having some people skills and being able to chat to people, because not everybody can do it. So everybody thinks, anybody can go work in a shop. Well, believe you me, that ain't the case. I've been through quite a lot of staff, and we've got some excellent ones. We've had some superb ones over the years, and obviously some not so good. And it's the ones that don't have to try it are the ones that are sort of good. But then everybody's good at something, and I just think if you're enjoying something, that's the thing that you're going to be all right at,
Yeah. But sometimes it just takes a few goes to find it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it does. I've just always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I just enjoy it.
How did you get into fashion?
Right, really by accident. So I moved. My parents moved down from London, and when I was just finishing school, so I needed to get a job. It was a lovely summer of '76. All I wanted to do was get to the beach. The first time I've been anywhere near a beach in my life. I lived like in the sort of the suburbs of London, so it wasn't exactly near the coast. So I thought, here we go. We've got all the beaches, lovely. And my mum's given me, you've got to go out and get a job. You've got to go out and get a job. So sure enough, weirdly enough, the first job I went for, this is quite a lot. So I was just doing anything. I didn't have major qualifications, and I actually went for he's a great bloke. It's Larry Spear.
Yeah.
He's an absolute Plymouth legend, and I'll tell you what a gentleman. But the company was called Spear and Edwards then, so they were a partnership. And I remember going to this interview. I was only 16. I'd gone to this interview. Don't have a bloody clue what I was doing. It was carpet fitting.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, fair enough. So I've gone in the interview, and this guy, I think it was Mr. Edwards actually, was interviewing. It certainly wasn't Larry, because Larry was, we'll always remember him. He said, just had a little bit of a general chit chat. He said, what's 20 yards by 32 yards by 10 yards? And I'm like, what? I said, well, I thought, what's this got to do with anything? So, and I said, to be honest with you, I haven't got a clue. I said, maths not a strong point. I said, I realise that obviously you need to know that for carpet fitting, but I think I'll just probably write it down as long as I can. He said, oh, no, you got to know. And that was pretty much the end of the interview. And I thought, what was that all about? And I went for an interview with John Sabertons, who was a legend in the retail industry in Plymouth. I didn't know that at the time. And I think 50 people went for the job of the salesman. And I remember being told afterwards when I got the job, and he said, you were the only one that never asked how much the wages were. Don't know why that particularly stood out to him. I said, well, my mum made me go and get a job, so it didn't really matter.
Could have been voluntary.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, it pretty much nearly was, to be honest. But, the way I looked at it is that it was a job, and if I was any good at it, then it might get better, But I missed out on the summer of '76 because of that. But, so I did that. That was John Sabertons in Mayflower Street. Again, I've got some great people that I know from them with that generation older than me.
Yeah.
So they'd have been in their 20s and 30s when I was 16, 17. And I still see, God, obviously a few of them are gone now, still see a few of those. So they were the people I looked up to going out, and all the smart guys,
Yeah.
So I sort of learned from people like that as well. And that was great. But so going back all that the old Drake Circus, that was. And then I had a guy who ran a business called Cody. He came to me and asked me to come and work for him, and eventually became a partner in that business. Spent many years there doing the buying. I did all the buying, and then eventually left and opened my own shop in Mayflower Street after that.
Were there like celebrities that come in?
Well, it is Plymouth. So you're a bit bereft of celebrities, so to speak, in there, aren't you?
Did you have any like dalliances?
Yeah. I mean, some of the local connections, probably like Lenny Henry, and obviously since Minnie as well with Dawn French, who's lovely.
You sold her?
Yeah.
Have you sold her one or two?
Two. Hope she doesn't mind me saying that.
I don't think she's the listener.
She does still live down here,
And if you are listening, Dawn, feel free to get in contact for a new episode.
Yes. That's it. Drag the level up a little bit. No, but she was very nice. Obviously, and her previous husband, Lenny Henry, there wasn't really a huge amount going on in Plymouth like that.
Before Premier as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was. You're absolutely right. Yeah, he did look like he hadn't had a good night's sleep, to be honest. It's just a very sociable thing, and it's always been fairly. I've always enjoyed it. And you're part of the city centre, and you're there. You are one, and they are all the public. They're all many, and then you go out, and then you're meeting everybody out as well. Because I've always been pretty much a social guy, sort of going out as well, and that does help with business. To be honest, it perpetuates it, keeps your face in there, and reminds me. Nice to know you're quite a normal bloke.
It is funny actually, because obviously I worked in a supermarket for 15 years.
Yeah.
When you bump into them out, it almost feels like they sort of act how I imagine it would be like seeing like a celebrity. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about coming up for autographs and signing their boobs.
Oh, I don't think so.
Especially some of the Waitrose customers.
Yeah.
But they're always a bit like, he works
well,
there.
Of course, yeah, no, you're right. What that happens is, that is all they will talk about.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Look, again, I've got no complaints. I've had a great laugh and knows a lot of nice people, as I've said before. But of course, all the people would want to talk about is clothes and the shop, which is fair enough. But sometimes when I go, I think I could do with a little bit of a layoff of this, a bit of a rest. But listen, it's only normal. It's only natural.
My worst thing that is happening at the moment is there was these customers that came in the mini showroom, and I tried my hardest to sell them a mini,
Right.
and what they were looking for we just didn't have available at the time.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting a mini, exactly what they wanted somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, I see them nearly on a daily basis
Oh.
now, and they're always like, "Oh, hi," and I always think like I'm the guy that almost sold them a mini.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, every time it's just a reminder of my failure.
Yeah, why couldn't you have just bought one off me?
And I walk past their mini sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah, it rubs it in a little bit, doesn't
it is better than what I could have done.
Yeah, it does rub it in a little bit. Well, I used to have to look at people's clothes and things, and hope that they thought they looked all right, because they blame it on me. And I still get people come up to me now saying, "Oh, I've still got that jacket I bought off you, and 20 years ago, and all this sort of stuff." Which again, it's all good.
Well, so going back to that, there was a stage when you were buying a house, weren't you? And you were clearing out some of your
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
stuff.
going back to what you mentioned earlier.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I remember that now.
And you were bringing this stuff in, and I have got no concept of. Obviously, I know when I look smart.
Yeah.
But it's never been something.
Don't do yourself down.
No, but it's never been
priority for you.
Priority, no. And so I took a load of these clothes that fit me, because that was more of a priority.
Yeah.
And took them home, and I'd wear them on an out. I still wear like some of them. It's office wear now.
Yeah.
Some of it's on nights out, and every time somebody goes to me, "Oh my God, is that?" And they'll give me a brand, and I'm like, "Is it?" Yeah.
I do remember. Well, unfortunately, now the only reason that happens because, unfortunately for you, you happen to be the same sort of build and shape as me, which is not great. But it goes to prove that old saying is that for two of us, that sometimes you can polish a turd.
Yeah.
And we are living proof of that.
You can put glitter on it.
Occasionally, not always. But no, I mean, yeah, there's two ways of looking at it. Sometimes I feel like I've got this stuff, I don't wear it anymore. I've got far too many clothes, byproduct of the business you're in. But you know, it's nice if someone else does want it and want to use it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember sending you a photo after I left saying, like, I do love a John Brown hand-me-down.
Going out and that, and we wore a few.
Yeah, I had an Armani pair of jeans, which I still wear. And I think on the back they've got AJB.
Yeah, no, they've got AJ. It'll be AJ, obviously, it's Armani jeans. It would just be a coincidence because obviously as people won't know, that I'm Anthony John Brown. Yeah, so it would have been, might have been denim, so it might have been a D. I don't think it would be a B. But yes, I'm AJ, which is Armani jeans, obviously.
And I always thought it was smart because on that label, it's got a bit to put the belt through.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We'll do it properly.
Like, I've never had a pair of jeans that's done that. And
dear.
And so I still, like, I don't care how much timber I put on, I will squeeze into them.
Well, I reckon, they're looking at you now, they're probably a little bit big for you. You've lost a bit since I last saw you.
Only
See, I can't stop myself, can I? I just have to flatter you, as if I'm trying to flog you something.
It's just, so how do you shop now?
Mate, that's a very good question, actually, because obviously I've still got a lot of, stuff. I mean, old bits and things that still Paul Smith bits that I've got, which are a bit timeless, and I can just about get into, as I've put on weight. Unfortunately, as a lot of us do. But I'll pick and choose. I will go. I'll tell you what. This is going to sound mad, but I'll even buy some bits from Marks and Spencer's from time to time.
Yeah.
So they've properly up their game. So like classic bits that you're not really fashion bits, like a sweatshirt or just like a little overshirt or something like that. And I can buy that because you can mix it up with other stuff as well.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But of course, I don't spend the money that I used to do when I had the shop. You know, because we were, as people probably would know, we were very sort of mid to higher end prices. And for me to go out and do that now, I'd find that, well, just difficult and also probably a bit immoral as well. It's for young people to do that. Doesn't mean to say you don't stop trying to just wear something a bit half decent as you get older, but you got to make sure it's in keeping with your age a bit, you know. So I'll buy stuff from Marks and Spencer. I've got no problem with that. They really up their game. Whoever's doing designing for them is actually doing a really good job.
Interesting.
But then I'll pick up Do you know what? This is I might embarrass myself a bit here.
Go
But
on.
I was on, yeah, go on, I don't care. I was on Facebook Marketplace. So I was putting a few bits of stuff I was trying to get rid of. I had to clear out some storage bits, and I've only got a small house, and I had to get rid of it. But I saw these really nice bits. Now, not everybody will know, but there's a shoe company called Lokes, which is a really old-fashioned Northampton proper handmade shoe company. Lokes and Churches and people like this. And this guy had obviously bought these shoes, and they were probably about 300 quid new, and worn them to the wedding once. And he just obviously wasn't that sort of guy who was ever going to wear them again.
Yeah.
Nice pair of brogues. Literally, once more, I thought, and they were my size. I thought, I'm having them. I mean, I never would have, you would never have dreamed of doing that when I had to shop. But I thought, well, why not? All in the box, all the nice, lovely, really nice. And they fitted me. I thought, I went, so yeah, I'll confess to buying them.
Have you been on Vinted?
No, I haven't, and I should do.
It is game changing.
Is it?
Another thing that I remember you went through a bit of a phase was with chairs.
Yeah, I was famous for carrying them around in the minis, wasn't I? Can we use your car to test drive? Well, hang on a minute. I'll just get out a wardrobe and 3 chairs out the back of it. Right, okay. I can explain that. I'm quite retrospective, and I do like sort of interior stuff, and I'm pretty into mid-century stuff, which has become fairly mainstream now. But back then, I was sort of picking stuff up it's become quite expensive now. So like 1950s, 1960s furniture, rather than say buy something new that everybody had, I thought, well, I could buy something that has been looked after, that was properly made, like 50, 60 years ago, and still look right, because all the stuff now is copying that sort of era anyway. And so I sort of, as you remember quite a bit, I do remember buying that like a G-plan chair from the auctions. I paid £16 for it, which I left upstairs in the for ages, and I never got round to. I was going to recover it, and I think I ended up selling it for 200 quid. No I did way. Nothing to it.
Didn't we stay on after work?
What?
To get it out of the room?
Yeah. And there was something else. There was a settee as well you helped me with as well. Yeah, did this bloke come to collect it, didn't he? Yeah.
And we were all a bit worried about leaving you by yourself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, that all worked out okay. But no, I reminded yourself of your childhood, probably. I've been very lucky. I've had a great life. I had lovely parents. And so maybe things that, it's like my cars, I like my vintage cars as well. So those, again, are the things that remind you of your past. Now, if you didn't have a decent past, you probably wouldn't want to be reminded of it. But I do. I think I just think of it, I am a bit of an old twit, and I think, those were better times and things were better then. I don't know. Just a typical old fogey thing to say.
I mean, I'm sure people my age and my
you'll
my
hark back to stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I still listen to music from when I was younger.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's normal, isn't it?
Yeah. I still dress up like a child every now and again.
Yeah, well, that's something you probably want to keep to yourself. But there you go. I think that's the way I've analysed it, that if I look back and I think I was lucky I grew up in a certain time and I think life was simpler. And, we all think that whatever era we were born in, I'm sure. So I suppose it's like a comfort blanket in a way. It does remind me of things like that. When you don't have your parents, when you get to my age, obviously, generally speaking, your parents aren't going to be around. And to remind you of those things, you collect things around you. I do, anyway.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it, anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that nostalgia bit.
Yeah. I think it is a bit of a comfort blanket thing. And as I said, I've always liked, when I've bought my own cars, obviously I'm with Minnie and people I've worked for, that I get a car. But when I've bought my own cars, I tend to buy classic cars because I just like those older things, the aesthetics of them, and the nice little bits and pieces in them, and just the fact that they're a bit different and they stand out,
Yeah, of course. Because I remember we went through your car collection and what they were worth.
Oh, God.
Versus mine.
Yeah, but bearing in mind I didn't have them anymore.
Yeah.
The things that they would, that's no good.
I think you were up well over 100 grand.
Yeah, but on a bit of paper.
Yeah, I was. But I was down on a bit of paper.
Yeah, well, that's true. And my lovely ex-wife, who unfortunately I still get on very well with,
you do.
she was more than happy for me to buy these cars, because she knew when it did come to selling, I would always get my money back at least, or maybe a bit more, because the vintage stuff does tend to hold its money. And it was the sort of thing I would enjoy going out to have a drive in. So again, it's all those past things that I must say very retrospective and things like that. And you can do that with going back to clothes. Obviously, a lot of stuff harks back to different era. You know, you've got like mod fashion and different sorts of fashions that really.
Did you have a preference when you were younger?
When I was a kid?
Yeah.
Well, because of the age I am, so I went through it's funny because my brother was a grammar school boy and I was very much, what's the other one? What would you say? Not a grammar school boy, comprehensive school boy. Yeah. I didn't do the exams, like my brother was the bright one. So he was very much, he was driven by the people he went to school with. So we're talking now, late 60s, early 70s. So his music was very much generated by those sort of, this bit more intellectual, this prog rock, these sort of things. And I was very much more of a working class sort of influence from my school. So it would be Tamla Motown and what was it say, like reggae. It was the first skinhead era.
Yeah.
So 69, 70 was the original skinhead era. So I would have all that. Again, I started on the clothes, so I'd have to have the clothes. I had to have the loafers. I had to have the Harrington jacket. When my brother was going to American, second-hand shop, and buy an RAF greatcoat. His hair was all really long.
Yeah.
And I was the opposite, and I had short hair, my braces, and all that stuff. As I say, first time around. And my dad, being a copper he was in the Metropolitan Police when we lived in London. He used to look at a pair of us and he'd think, what have I done? He said, can you not get a decent haircut between you? Somewhere in between. He'd look at, honestly, it was despair. But that just sort of almost brought up what British youth culture was. It was quite a distinctive thing. You're either one or the other back then.
Yeah.
And that's gone, through times with punk and stuff like that. But yeah, my brother was very much that sort of pseudo hippie type thing, whereas I was very much the skinheady type sort of look, and used to get the football. And I think our team reflected that. My brother's a Fulham fan, and if you go there today, they're a very genteel ground, very genteel supporters, suited him down to the ground, whereas Chelsea very much like that. It was a little bit more aggressive and very much sort of laddie. So those things all sort of fitted in quite well,
So you mentioned your dad was a policeman in London.
Yes.
So that would have been during the gang.
Yeah,
era,
So he's no longer with us, obviously, but no. So yeah, I've sold you some stories before, some hilarious stories, but it's of such a different time. But it didn't mean to say it was a bad thing. I mean, really, you talk about it now, and it does sound like it's going back 200 years, not like 50 years. And like my daughter thinks some of the stories I tell her, it was like from Dickensian times, not actually in memorable times. So, that happens. But yeah, my dad, as I said, I had a lovely family of just classic, four of us, mum and dad and me and my brother. And my dad was in the Metropolitan Police around Tooting, Mitcham, around that South London area. But it was very much a time when you could do your job then. I mean, so non-PC. It's unbelievable. But you could use your common sense. So some fantastic stories. He used to get teased when he first started. He was a northern chap as well, my dad. He was down the mines at 14 and joined the Navy.
Way.
Yeah, he's down a mile underground at 14 years of age. And so he always said when he went to London, he met my mum in the Navy, and then he went to London. She's from around there. Because a lot of heavy duty gangsters and proper villains there.
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, John," I said, he said, "Look, when you've been a mile underground in a little tunnel, and the ceiling comes in on top of you, and used to show me little navy blue scars of where they cut." He said, "Really, to be honest with you, not much really scares you after that," and it's true. And
it's all about perspective, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, he was a proper stand-up sort of guy. And but I like to think now, I look back, we used to be at logheads a little bit because we're very like, but I like to think I picked up some of his morals now. I'd love to think that because he really was quite a moralistic sort of chap. But some some great stories. And when they first started, if I may indulge you in one, because it is a Brahma. Because the old boys in the station got a new lad in, we've got to wind him up, we've got to do this, that and the other, muck about with him. So there was this local villain, and this is a true story. Everybody knew what he did. He was actually a wheelman. He was a driver for, gangs, basically doing jobs or whatever. That was his job. Proper flash in the 60s, lovely suits, all the gear on. So he had accumulated sort of 20, 30 parking tickets, and obviously couldn't give a monkey's about that. He didn't care. And so my dad was given this job. Said, George, my dad said, go round and see so-and-so and sort all these parking tickets out, see? So, because nobody else could be bothered. And he said, you've got no chance. So he's gone round this block of flats, proper heavy-duty area, around in Tooting. So he's knocking on the door, and the old ladies come to the door. What are you effing want? Yeah, still his uniform, didn't give a monkey. He said, very sorry to interrupt you. Very polite, putting it on. Is Mr. So-and-so in? No, he effing ain't. What do you want? I said, no matter. He said, got a few things here I just need to sort out with him. Said, if he'd like to come down the station and see PC Brown, he said, that'll be the end of it. We'll sort it all out. So she said, F off. So he's walked up, and he literally made it his duty, I think, twice a week to go around and knock on this person's door, whether he was on night duty or day duty, or not, it didn't really make any difference, and absolutely make them, just like boiling point. Yeah. Whereas eventually my dad's out in the back office and this villain's come down. He goes, where's this bleating PC Brown? He said, George. Oh, yeah. Oh, hello, sir. Thanks for popping down. Just wanted you to sort these tickets out. He said, I'm going to have to bother you. He's effing and jeffing. He said, it won't take a minute. He said, it was, 50 quid or something back in them days. Blokes took the money out. He's chucked it on the big wad of cash. He's obviously a right villain. Chucked the money on the counter. Piss off. I don't want to ever see you ever again. He said, no problem, sir. He said, no aggravation from you, which was hilarious. And all the old boys thought it was funny. But consequently from that, it could have been, I don't know, a couple of years later, he was out on duty and it was classic, like probably an old Jag or something, wrapped round the lamppost, smashed the bits about 3 o'clock in the morning, blood everywhere. Nobody else in the streets. And he's called in and said, is there anybody injured, any pedestrians, any jobs gone, anything been done, any naughty's gone on? And the guy's like, no, nothing at all. So he said, fair enough. So he's gone round to this guy's flat where he knew he lived. Sure enough, the old lady's come to the door. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said, where is he? She said, come in. And he's on the settee, smashed the bits. He'd had a drink. Broken arms, all sorts. Yeah. And the old man's, right, forget about the cut. He said, you're not injured anybody. You've ridden the car off. You've taken the lamppost out. He said, you might have to pay that to the council the next day. He said, but you're not going to get done with drink driving just because it ain't going to happen. Just get him to hospital. So they got him in the ambulance, got him to hospital, and they sorted him out. But that was the sort of strange morality of it all. And they always used to bump into each other, he said. But, they just like nod to each other. One's still a villain, one's still a copper. They weren't going to ever be mates.
Yeah.
But they were both men.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was that sort of moral compass then, a little bit of that sort of thing. He made sure that he sorted him out. And that was it. No more was said about it. It just wouldn't happen now, Yeah. It's some absolute dramas. He literally could, if there was a problem, out of the way. Also, no CCTV cameras then. Of course. And if he had a bit of trouble when he started, and he was a fit young man, he boxing and all that sort of stuff. And literally, if someone's giving him a bit of stick, 3 or 4 lads, he'd say, come on, I'm off duty, jack it off.
Yeah, yeah.
You could do that. It's unbelievable to think that now. In a way, it solves the problem. The next time he was out in the streets, they would look at him and there'd be a mutual respect. He wouldn't ever grudge that. He said, right, lads, and that'll be that. And they all moved on, and that was, it was a way of keeping things straight.
Yeah, it's odd because that would just never happen now.
No, a lot less paperwork.
People try, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, but he would have been reported. He'd be on a camera.
He would have been on the wrong for being in the right.
Right, even it lasted 10 minutes today. There was a lot of common sense stuff that applied as well.
Yeah.
People were different. The working class people, proper working class people then, still had respect for themselves. But there was another one, a quick one, where he'd had someone who was assaulting his wife, bad stuff. Now, they close ranks a bit these days and don't want the police anywhere near, keep out of our business. Well, the old dears in this building, they probably weren't old dears, they're probably about 40, but this guy was probably giving his wife a good hiding. So him and his partner went round to sort it out. And again, it sounds so corny, but it's very true. All the old dears, they literally, they got this guy, finally caught him in, and the woman's there with her eye cut and everything. And they did the classic on the third floor of the block. They held him over they got him over the balcony, and they said, "We're not going to be coming back here, are we, for this?" And all the old dears are shouting, "Drop him!" Whereas now they'd be having to go at the police.
Yeah.
But back then, he was in the wrong. The bloke was not, he was knocking his woman about.
Yeah.
So they've gone round, two blokes, makes it a level. Come and have an argument with us. Put him over the edge and said, "Look, we don't want to become bigger." Apparently, he left a couple of weeks later. He'd gone and disappeared. So it was a means to an end.
Yeah.
But loads of stories like that. But, you pick the bones out of that and you sort of get a little bit of a certain moralistic.
What is it like having a daughter come up through into 20s?
Okay, well, I will say that probably and a lot of people might not necessarily agree with me. I'm probably glad that I was lucky enough to be able to bring her up down this part of the world, as opposed to perhaps now where I used to live, although I didn't have a problem with that, but perhaps not so good now. Bearing in mind you have 2 children,
Yeah.
and I only have a daughter, so I think for you, and I might be totally wrong, things will balance themselves out of it. So I definitely had the only child syndrome, and obviously she's the love of my life, and she's now the only thing I need to be concerned about. Effectively, she's my responsibility.
You've always spoken so highly of her.
Well, she probably might not believe that, but yeah.
Only from my experience.
Well, you're a dad, aren't you? And she's got a good mum, and I'm proud to be dad. But I equate it sometimes to going up to somebody and then saying, "Here, well, look, here's a large sum of money," and giving them a big bag of money, and then turning round to you and punching you as hard as they can in the face. That sometimes feels about the sort of gratitude you get for it. And you can only hope and pray that when they have kids and then they suddenly will realise it, because you're wasting your breath otherwise.
Yeah.
And I probably was just the same when I was a kid. Didn't appreciate anything. Not that I got the same sort of stuff as she did, but at the end of the day, we all do it.
First boyfriend, what was? How did you cope?
See, now people see it's funny. People think, and I don't know why people think this of me. They thought I might. I am protective, but I've been all right. The boyfriends they've been all right, as long as they're respectful and behave themselves and look after her.
Yeah.
Like she's very capable. She can sort them out. Better a word from her than me. But it's a test. Again, it's the next test, isn't it? I always remember people talking to me before I had Jessica, saying, "We don't really understand." It was a bit patronising, but it's true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that until you do have a kid, if you're blessed, if you're lucky, or 10 or whatever, none or 10, nothing's right or wrong. But if you are blessed to have a child or 2, that it does change your life, doesn't it? It changes your life immeasurably. It's another plus thing. It's just the next stage, I think.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic, but it just takes you on to another level, doesn't it?
Yeah, just all of a sudden, everything you used to care about, you don't. you like it's just gone out the
window.
window.
Out the window,
and
yeah.
You're just hyper focused.
Yes.
On 1 or 2 or however.
So whoever, and it's a test of a relationship. But it's there for a reason. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Test the strength of the relationship. You work together with the kid. And, at the end of the day, unfortunately, the child becomes the priority.
Yeah.
And quite rightly so. And so the art of it really is obviously to kind of get a bit of a balance, that you don't just throw everything in on the kids, that you still try and do the things you used to do.
You've got something left afterwards.
Yeah. But, they do come first. And that doesn't really change. My daughter's 25. She's a very capable person. She's off to the south of France soon to go, and she's going to go and hopefully work on the super yachts. That's something she wants to do, which I think is fantastic. And my dad, being ex-Navy, would have loved that. He'd have been proud of her. So again, you try and now sort of live your life, not live your life through them, but you want them to
the best
have fantastic times and just go and enjoy yourself. The world's a funny old place. It always has been. But I think, just go out. a lot of things is very serious these days. I find I've always been pretty laissez-faire about things when I had to be, when I can be, and I want her to just be happy and enjoy it, and everybody's kids, you know, it's important, and it's a little bit more difficult now, I think, but maybe not.
Yeah,
You know.
there's nothing better than seeing your children enjoying themselves.
That's all
Like
you want.
that is like genuinely, I
That's all
just
you want.
I'm like obsessed. I just
Great.
love
Well,
it.
that's exactly, yeah, it's a buzz, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not about money. It's not about all this sort of thing. It's just the fact that they're part of you, and you just want them to be happy.
yeah.
You know,
That is
they
literally
don't have to be rich. They don't have to. It's fantastic. This and that. That doesn't matter. Just be happy. And I think, unfortunately, there are a lot more pressures on them now. They really are than when I was a kid. Certainly, obviously, it's a long time ago, and even from your
Yeah,
time as well. But they'll deal with it in their own way. They'll deal with it in their own
Well,
way.
yeah, because they're going to pick up things like Lyra can use a tablet.
Well, when do you let her pop around and show me how to use it?
Do you know what? I was going to say something there, then you got there first.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, cheers. Yeah,
So-
I crack the jokes.
So there's one thing you haven't mentioned, which I
All right.
thought you would have, which is Chelsea Football Club. Now I know you mentioned you supported them,
Well,
but you're like,
see, I'm on a little bit of a low point with this. I've got to be honest with you,
Oh.
Daryl. Yes, they've been absolutely huge. Anybody thought if I wrote a book or told a story, that would be a major part of that, and it has been from the age of probably 8. Again, obviously, where we lived in South London, my dad was very sporty. He used to take us. So our two closest, actually, Crystal Palace were closer, but he used to take us to Fulham or Chelsea, whoever was at home, which we loved. It was great going to the grounds, back in the days, the 60s again, when we were kids, 60s and 70s. And my brother ended up being a Fulham fan. And then my dad took me to Chelsea, and it was just something else about it. It just seemed bigger and louder. And we played Man United, who were then European champions, 68, 69. And I was 7, 8, something like that. And there was like 60,000 people in there. And I'm thinking, right, this is for me. I'm loving this already. So you're stuck with that. So yeah, so from that age, been a major part of our life. Bored people stupid about it. And don't matter if we're rubbish or we're brilliant. Obviously, of the this century, it's been phenomenal with Abramovich. But I have to say, I am getting tired of it. Again, like everything changes. But we've had this new ownership coming in, these Americans, who I don't think Americans should have anything to do with football because they know nothing about it. Russians, fine by me. They play it, they know it, they understand it. And Abramovich, no matter what his peccadillos were, what he did with the Putin situation, obviously it's not right. At least he didn't care. He just loved it. He loved winning stuff. And the fans really, that's all. We're stuck with the team. We can't do anything else. They don't have to win every week, but just he showed sort of real passion. These new guys, they're just in it for a business, and they don't really care about the fans, I'm afraid to say. And it's all about a business model, and could be any team really. And unfortunately, that has made me feel a little bit more detached from it all. I'm not quite so vociferous. Maybe that's an age thing as well. But yeah, I mean, I've been all over Europe, as you know, following them. I used to go every week when at home.
Chelsea losing, that could ruin your weekend.
It could do. It could do.
Like that was
Yeah.
the feeling I got.
It could do in the right
that's how passionate
circumstances.
you felt.
Yeah, and I couldn't help it. I knew how charged it was. Now, if they played really well and done all right, and they did, that's fine. I could deal with that. I mean, my ideal weekend would be Liverpool and Man United losing and Chelsea winning. So if two of the three came in, I was all right. But yeah, you can't explain it to people. People who know football and love football, like you said, you'll understand that.
Yeah.
Or rugby or whatever sport it might be, it's in you. So you can't help it. It is irrational. But as I said, I've been away. I went to the Champions League final 2012 when we beat Bayern Munich on their own ground. It was unbelievable. I never thought I'd ever see those days. And I cherish all those sort of moments. I've been very lucky again with things like that. Yeah, they're part of my life. I was fortunate enough. I said I had my wife at the time was very understanding, would allow me to indulge my little passions. I had a season ticket for years. And now I've got a proper job. I haven't got one anymore.
Yeah,
now.
but you used to go up every now, when you could.
Quite a lot, yeah. I would do, even though it's all the way. But yeah, that's a part again of my growing up, and that stuck with me.
You have such a social life.
I do now. It's almost like I'm starting again now, to be honest. I always had done, 'cause I tied it with the shop. And obviously when I was married, we would do things together, myself and my wife. And then when my daughter would come along, we'd do stuff like that. But I've always had a group of mates as well, even as I've got 40s, 50s, 60s. We still do. I mean, I live in Tamerton Foliot now, which a lot of people probably know. And it's got 3 pubs in it. But I'm a single man now. But it's so sociable. It's great. If you are a single person, I'll go out and there's always someone saying hello. It's very nice. It's very got an old school sort of feeling about it. And so that's nice for me. That's what I need.
Yeah.
I do need people to sort of buzz off of.
So like we've got cars,
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
clothes,
Bit blokey, innit?
social life.
I'd love to chuck in sort of needle point, but it's not in there.
Like, as blokes go, you're doing pretty well.
Look, I've just said I'm not. Oh, it sounds terrible. I'm not. I've had a good life. And I still continue to enjoy it. And I look at each time as a stage now. You know, I'm blessed to say my wife, we get on very well. She's got her life now. She lives it. I've got mine to carry on with. It's another stage to me. I look at each of it as it's this next chapter. I do enjoy myself.
What is the current stage you're at?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. So I found somewhere that I enjoy living. Obviously, because after splitting up, you sell the house and Jane goes one way and I go the other. And I've got myself a nice flat in Lockington in Hartley there, which was lovely, but I found it a bit boring. So Jess, my daughter, said, well, why don't you come and live nearer us? So nearer her, obviously my daughter. So I did, and it's a really good move. So I enjoy that. Again, without going into too much details, I had a few different relationships, but as you get to a certain age, that does become a little bit more tricky because there's
They want one thing from you, don't they, John?
Well, that's it. They're only human. They're only human, I've got a big stick to beat them all up with.
All right. Glad you finished that sentence.
I left a little bit off the end. But no, all joking aside, I'm in a good space. It's such a cliche, isn't it? It ain't a rehearsal. You're only here once. Just try to enjoy as much as you can, really. I'm very much an advocate of that. And I've got people around me that enable me to generally do that. Of course, we'll have our ups and downs. Had some horrible things happen to me, but nothing compared to a lot of people. You've got to think yourself lucky.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, I'm still healthy. I've got to 65. I'm still healthy. I've got a beautiful daughter. I'm rich with friends. We're not in money, but not with what I've done in my life and who I've got around me. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm happy.
Absolutely. Well, John, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough. I really enjoyed this.
Absolute pleasure, and we could have gone on forever. And it's really nice to catch up with you.
Yeah, we there's no doubt we could have talked all evening.
Well, that's the advantage of age, you see.
And editing.
Collect plenty of stories and editing, yeah. Yes, yeah, and cut the dog farting out of it as well. Cool.
Guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much. For now, cheers.